Welcome to Pera's Playbook. This is your host, Alex Pera. Let's open up our playbook and see who our guest is. Please enjoy.
Welcome to episode 149 of Pera's Playbook. Today we're joined by Johnston. He's a graduate student at High Point University. He's on the men's basketball team. He's also played at Stetson and Florida Gulf Coast. So we're going to talk some basketball and a number of other topics. Happy to have Chase on the podcast. How are you?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to talk some hoops and talk some faith.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it's the perfect time to talk hoops. I mean, it's March, and I mean the madness has already begun. There's been some wild stuff going on. Every time I think I've figured out a team, they turn around and do something totally different. Like Illinois, I was like, man, they kind of stink. They just got whooped on by Duke, and then today they go and beat Michigan by 20 points. So it's like you don't know who's going to show up on any given night, and I think that's obviously the magic of March Madness is you don't know what you're going to get. Every game means something. There's teams fighting for, and now with the expanded conferences, a lot of the big conferences, you're fighting to even get a chance in the conference tournament. I know in like the ACC, the bottom three teams won't make it. So, I mean, you're just fighting to stay alive. When you used to just get that automatic, you'd be the lowest seed, but you'd have a chance. Now it's totally different. So it's crazy.
Right. No, 100%. Michigan took a tough loss today.
Yeah. All the Wolverine fans are probably hurting, but I guess if you're going to take a loss, it's better to do it now than when it gets really serious. I mean, they're pretty well in the big dance. I mean, they've had a great season, so they'll be in there. I mean, now it's just seeding and whatnot, where you end up and who you play. I think there's some crazy teams. I mean, Auburn, Duke are unreal. Duke's just they're lighting it up in the last 5 games, almost scoring 100 points a game. It's crazy. Cooper Flag he's like almost not human the way he can play. And
They're a complete team. They score at a high level, but then they also guard at a high level too. So
yeah, it'll be fun. Definitely be. I mean, it always is. And last year I think was really unique. The amount of or maybe it wasn't last year, the year before. There was that one year where recently no number 1 seeds made it to the Final Four. I mean, which is really cool. I mean, upsets, and that's what everybody loves, obviously.
Yeah, I think it was the year of St. Peter's, and they made that run.
Yeah, it's definitely cool stuff. Let's talk about you here for a little bit. Like growing up, did you have a favorite hooper? Somebody that was kind of like your go-to guy you really enjoyed watching, or like following their game, or?
I would say I really do enjoy watching Steph Curry play. Just obviously he's a shooter, but just I don't know, he just brings a different type of joy to the game and how he plays. He just hits ridiculous shots, but I just love his feel for the game and like how he plays with a certain pace. Never really gets rattled. And I think that has a lot to do with his faith background. I believe he's a follower of Christ. But yeah, I really do enjoy watching Steph Curry play.
And like off the court too, he seems like a really good guy. He does a lot of great stuff in the community, and obviously that goes hand in hand with like following Christ and whatnot. But it's always, I mean, easier to be a fan of somebody when they're nice on the court and off the court. Like if you're a good player but a terrible person, it's hard to root for that. You know what I mean? Like I can't personally get behind somebody, like even if they're the best basketball player in the world, if they're arrogant and just like not a decent person, it's hard to root for them.
Yeah, 100%. You got to remember where you were before you got everything you had, and then you remember who you got it from. Right? Can't allow those circumstance to define you, and you can't allow what you do to define who you are. So
yeah, for sure. Did you play other sports growing up, or has basketball always just been your thing?
I played a lot of sports growing up. I played golf. I still play golf to this day. I played football, baseball. I played a little bit of soccer. So I'd say those are the main sports I played, and then I decided to, take basketball pretty serious at a young age. But I always played, like I said, sports just to keep hand eye coordination and just grow different abilities and athleticism in different areas of my um, in my game. So
Did you keep playing other sports like all throughout high school?
so my dad always had he always had a rule. Growing up, I have an older brother and older sister as well. But for my brother and I, we were pursuing basketball, and the goal was to play D1. But we had to play golf as well, or we had to play another sport, whatever sport that was. Golf was like the sport that matched up perfectly with basketball season because it was right before. And baseball was kind of in the middle, or like he didn't. We're not going to play football because you just risk the injury of getting hurt. So it was always a deal where you had to play two sports. Just kind of it helps you grow in balancing two things at once, and it's also good mentally as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of coaches, they don't want to recruit kids that only play one sport. They want multi-sport athletes, whatever those couple of sports are. Like you said, I mean, you pick what your other sport is, but coaches want to see somebody that's, not just devoted to one thing. Because like you said, you can benefit a lot from other sports. They can help basketball, time management, the
yeah,
mental side. There's a lot of benefits. And I think some kids, like at a young age, they don't understand that. They think like, I just got to devote all my time to this one thing, and that's the only way I'm going to get noticed.
100%.
Yeah, and I mean, I think injury concern obviously is a reason why people don't play multiple sports. But I mean, depending on the sports, like golf, obviously you can get hurt, but there's lower chances than football or
For
even
sure.
baseball. But then again, baseball, you got a lower chance of getting hurt than playing football or hockey or whatever your like, sports are. Um, but yeah, just playing a couple sports definitely helps you out in the long run, especially with
Yeah.
college. There's so much time management that you have to deal with, especially as an athlete. I mean, it's hard enough as like a regular student to figure it out. I
Right.
can't imagine being a D1 athlete and taking exams and papers and
It's a full-time job, man. It can get the best of you if you don't have, a foundation in the Lord, and you just don't have your priorities in order. So it is a full-time job for sure. A lot of restless nights and a lot of hard days, but it's fun. It's an awesome platform.
do they have resources for you guys like at High Point, like to help you with school if you need it?
Yeah, yeah, they do. High Point's it's a beautiful school. I don't know if you've ever seen it or been, but it's unbelievable. Just everything, all the amenities they have as well. They really take care of their not only athletes, every student on campus. There's always a way for them to be helped and make sure that they succeed at the highest level. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean that's what it's all about, right? Like it's the athletes. I mean that should be the main focus of college athletics is your athletes' success and making sure they have the right tools to succeed, especially in their academics, because most people aren't gonna go on and have a 20-year NBA or NFL career. Like even the few people that do make it, I mean, if you look at like the average amount of years, most guys are in and out in 5 years, and you've still got to do something with the rest of your life.
100%, 100%.
Yeah. So let's dive into this season a little bit. I mean,
Yeah,
you guys are having a great season as a team. We're getting down to conference tourney time here soon, but I
yeah.
wanted to mention two games that you had really good games. 3-point shooting has been kind of your thing. Coppin State, Norfolk State, you were 9 out of 11 for three and 8 out of 13 for three. So like on those nights, I mean, do you think there was something different that you did that like led you to shoot well, or you just kind of got the hot hand and just they just kept feeding you? Like, do you think there was anything that like really stood out as why you shot so well those couple of nights, or just you know happened to be?
Um, yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, man. Those were just certain nights where I got more shots than I usually get here. I was able to get up, was it 11 shots and then 13 shots. And I think the more shots I take, I believe I can shoot it at a high clip. And I was just feeling it. I've had, all glory to the Lord that He's given me the abilities and the opportunity to even play this game, right? He's given me such an amazing platform, and He's enabled me to shoot and have a good year this year so far. But I would say those 2 games, everything was clicking. I don't know. It's one of those, as a shooter, you hit your first couple of shots and um, you're just like on a roll. The basket just gets bigger and bigger, especially the first night. I hit like my first 4 in a row. And I believe it was 4 in a row. And when you do that as a shooter, it's like you're shooting into an ocean. Like it just gets bigger and bigger. And it's confidence from your teammates. It's confidence from your coaches, right? And so, yeah, I wouldn't say there was nothing like anything specific or special about those 2 games. Um, the game plan was kind of the same, and I just kind of let the game come to me. And when I see a good shot, I take it. And when not, I move the ball and try and find the right play for my teammates. So,
Yeah. Do you have like anything specific you do before a game? Like some people like they got to put their right shoe on before their left shoe or whatever it is. You get those like mental things if you've been doing it every single year for some reason, right? Like you got to wear the same pair of socks or whatever it is. Like, do you have anything kind of weird that you feel like you got to do?
I don't I'm not a firm believer. I don't believe in superstition. But one thing I always do before the game is I just get into the word, man. I do a Bible study and I just open up God's word and read a devotional that I have and just allow the word of God to pierce through me, just reset my heart and reminding me what truly matters, right? Is to go out and use this platform to be a disciple for Jesus and share his glory and give it all to him. And so that's what I do before games. It's really just about replacing self with serve and fixing my eyes on what truly matters, the King of the universe. So the King of the
Yeah,
world.
just getting yourself in the right mindset, calming yourself down for the game. That's got to help with stress too.
Yeah.
Like just really calm the nerves and because when you're centered and like I feel like oftentimes when people get stressed out, like you're not necessarily in the best space with your faith maybe like so because sometimes if you're like stressed out and you just like sit down and pray or do whatever you need to do like oftentimes you'll calm down but I feel like as humans we let the world get the best of us, right? Like there's so much stress that the world puts on us and we
Yeah.
we let that bog us down, so that's got to be an awesome way to just like stay calm and centered before a game.
No, 100%. The world, the devil's very unique at what he does and trying tempting us and filling our mind with lies or just trying to fill our lives with anxiety and stress and worry. But it's like God's word says, do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Romans 12:2. So just renewing your mind in his word, and he gives us perfect peace. So
Yeah, for sure, definitely. So, how do you guys, like as a team or you personally, block out the noise? Like, especially this time of year, the media, there's so much talk, bracketology, and predictions and all this crap that if you're an athlete and you focus on that stuff, it definitely doesn't help you, right? You got to block that stuff out. But it's hard, especially in today's day and age. You go on your phone, you turn on the radio or the TV, and they're just constantly piling it on you. So, how do you and your teammates kind of block that stuff out?
So I'd say for the team first, I would say we stick together. We don't ever get too high or too low. This team last year, with a lot of the guys that had returned, were in this same position where they won the regular season and then lost in the tournament. And so they know, it was kind of like a trial run last year. And so they know what to expect and what's coming. And they know that, okay, if we get too high, we're going to probably lose because we're going to overlook teams. But if we get too low, then, we're not going to play with confidence or with an edge. And so it's about just showing up every day and just taking, being faithful with the little and taking each day as a blessing, right? And just attacking every rep that we have as a team, as a family together, blocking out who we don't play for the name on the front or the back. We pray for the Lord. We play for the Lord first and foremost, and then we play for each other. And then I would say for me, it's kind of like that last point I said. I have a teammate named Trey Benham. He's like a best friend to me. He's a brother in Christ. And him and I just constantly reminding ourselves daily that it's not about us, right? It's so easy to allow, like I was saying, the world and all the things of, media or bracketology, right? Or all these predictions come about. And that's how what the enemy meant for evil, God meant for good. And the enemy can really use these things as a way to trap you and get you consumed in it. But if you're renewing your mind daily in God's word, right? You're renewing your mind daily in prayer with the Lord, you are going to be set on the thing that's right in front of you. And that's to be a servant, and that's to replace self with serve, and play for your brother that's beside you, but then most importantly, play for Christ. So that's how I block out the noise. Is just my daily walk with the Lord, and just reminding me that, man, I'm just a vessel, and everything I have is a gift. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's the way you have to do it. And it's not easy. Like it's definitely a challenge every day,
mm,
especially for people that are in your shoes, because you are the center of conversation, good or bad. And I mean, the whole point, right, is to get people talking and get people to think, and it can consume you,
yeah,
whether you're a fan or an athlete. It can consume you, good or bad, and it can lead to all these other things. I mean, it's cool, right, to look at that stuff and see, like, where do they think my team's gonna be? But
yeah.
sometimes I feel like it can go too far, like I said, where it almost consumes you, consumes the team and whatnot.
Yeah, you got to have a healthy balance with it. Because if
Yeah,
you have too much of one thing, you're going to be absolutely consumed in that thing. So it's
yeah,
just having a healthy balance. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, man, it's been a crazy ride. It's been a fun ride though. It's been cool. So
yeah. You guys are heading into conference tourney this week. I mean, for you, like a guy, you're experienced in college basketball. You've had stops along the way. You've played in conference tournament games. So I mean, you kind of know what to expect when you get to this point of the year, right? Like everybody takes it a little bit more serious because a lot of teams, it's their only shot. I mean, they're playing for survival at this point. And you see crazy things. Last year, NC State ran through the ACC, won it, and made the tournament. So I mean, that totally happens. You never know what you're going to get in these conference tournament games, and it's got to help to have that kind of experience, that being around college basketball, for at different schools, and kind of knowing what to expect when you get to this point.
yeah, no, 100%. Um, man, it's especially in a conference, in a mid-major conference like the Big South or where I was prior in the ASUN, um, you have to win the conference to go to the tournament. So it's hard. So like no matter what we did in this regular season, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because if we don't make the tournament, then nobody cares about your regular season title. Um, so bringing that experience, bringing that 6 year experience of me doing this now for a while, I think, as we've talked about the team, and our team's pretty old, so we have a lot of seniors on our team. The conversation is just keeping the main thing, and taking it one day at a time, right? I could easily look at the bracket, which I have, and look at it and like overlook. And if you do that, you'll get beat. And so it's just about, trusting in the work that you put in all season, but then also understanding that at any given time, the 10th seed in our conference could get hot and win the whole thing and go to the final four if they get hot. Like that's just how crazy it works. So I think that it's important, and it's something that we've been talking about as a team, is that we just keep the main thing, and every day we just show up. Like today we had practice. We're like, man, tomorrow's not promised. Let's attack today, and let's give it everything we have, because winning a championship doesn't start next Sunday in the championship. It doesn't start next Friday. It starts today in practice. If we're lollygagging in practice throughout the week, then we're going to have a game on Friday and we're going to lay an egg and we're going to lose, and it's going to be a sad locker room. So it's about attacking what we have right in front of us, which we have today, and just being grateful for that. And then, pouring out whatever we're given next by the grace of God. So,
Yeah, that's a good mindset to have. And I think something you mentioned kind of goes with what we were talking about with all the noise. When you're in those mid-major conferences, like you said, you have to win the conference to make it in. If you look at bracketology right now, they've picked who they think is going to win the conference. So, like, if you're a player on one of those teams, you can look at it and say, like, oh man, like they think we're going to be in there, like we got an easy ride, and you get that false idea, and then you kind of sleep on whatever team you're playing in the conference because you're paying too much attention to who the media thinks is going to be in, and then you lay that egg that you're talking about.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's so easy to look ahead. It's so easy to, doubt a team or overlook a team and think that, well, yeah, we'll just blow this team out. And it's like, man, the margin for error is so small, and all the team has to do is put together 3 good games. And at the end of the day, like that's not crazy. It's not like you're playing an 18-game season right now where you're traveling all over. You're in one place at a neutral site in East Tennessee State this next weekend, and if you're not together as a team and you don't get hot, it's not gonna be a fun result. So
You kind of got to look at it now like it's a new season. Everybody's 0-0. Like the records don't matter.
It doesn't.
It's completely new when you hit the playoffs.
No, 100%. Averages don't matter. Shooting percentage doesn't matter. Points per game doesn't matter, right? Because that stuff, it's not changing in 3 games. And that's another thing that we've all talked about as a team is like, man, like just throw away the pride, throw away your goals for next year or your plans for next year or what you're thinking of, and just be so bought in to winning right now with this group of guys that we've been together since June 1st. Like when you look back, like it's so easy to get caught up in the everyday, like it goes by so fast and you forget where you started. Like we were in the trenches June 1st. So throwing away all that other stuff and just being so focused in the moment, I think it's important.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good mindset for everyone to have, whatever you're doing in life, just to be present in the moment, whether you're an athlete or whether you're just living your everyday life. I feel like as humans, we're always looking for the next best thing, right? Like we're looking for whatever, and people look so far ahead that they miss out on what's right in front of them, what's going on in their life right now. And again, that goes to like the stress and the anxiety and like everything the world puts around you. It's not easy to stay centered in our like crazy busy world. Um, it's a lot harder than it used to be, right? When there were less distractions. You look back and people didn't have cell phones with 18 different social media accounts and access to 100 different TV shows or apps or whatever you wanted to do. Life was simpler. So now it's all that like too instant gratification and like everything's got to be quick and fast and like yeah, it's interesting. It's hard, but you just got to kind of buckle down and if you have faith, obviously, which we'll talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah,
That's the main thing.
100%.
So before we get to that, I wanted to kind of just touch on 3-point shooting. Obviously, we kind of talked about like that can be your game. You're the single season record holder at Stetson. Like, how did you get so good at shooting threes? Just like, did you just put up a ton of shots over time? Like, just every day in the gym shooting threes?
Yeah, man, it's been thinking back at it now, it's crazy. But ever since I was a kid, my dad rebounded for my brother every single night, 1,500 shots a day. And it's, you talk about selfless love, a selfless action to just for the betterment of somebody else. And that's what he did every day, even up to my college days when I was at school. Whenever he comes up and visits, like he'll do it with me. And that's how I got so good at shooting. First and foremost, it's all the Lord, right? The Lord gave me this opportunity. He gave me all the abilities and talents to be able to even be healthy and shoot a basketball. It's all Jesus. But then putting people in my life like my father that is willing to rebound for me 1,500 shots a day, and my mom as well, with everything that she supports me with. I couldn't be here without her as well. But man, it's been every day. It's a daily grind. It can only happen through the work. You can't just, God gives us talents and abilities, but if you can't just lay in your bed and do nothing with it, right? Like you still have to go out and work hard and work willingly at whatever you're doing, as though you're serving him and not man. And so yeah, that's really how I got good at shooting. My brother, my dad, just countless hours in the gym, 3-4 hours a night in the gym. After a 3-hour practice, I'd stay in the gym for 2 more hours and shoot. And that's still my mindset to this day. It's something that I've been gifted at, and I've been able to be become really good at it, and it's brought me so far in life. And so I would be a fool to not, I would be a fool to take it for granted and not take advantage of it. So,
That had to kind of create like a cool bond between you and your dad too,
oh
like
yeah,
doing that all the time.
yeah, it's that's how you build relationships, and it's been really cool. My dad's been through a lot with his health, and just seeing his relentless strength and persistent, spirit in him, just to not take no for an answer, and to not let something in his life hold him back, but to still show up and want to do that for me, for my brother, for my sister. Yeah, it's been awesome.
Right. Because even that's extra time that he's devoting to you guys to help you succeed when he could be doing something for himself, right? Like after going to work all day and then going to help you guys, he could be doing something else, but he chose to help you, your brother, your sister, to help you succeed.
Yeah,
And that's like the selfless thing that parents do for their kids, right? Like
100%.
you do so much for your kids, you make sacrifices to see your kids succeed.
Yeah, and my mom too, right? Like, obviously I give a lot of credit to my dad because he was rebounding me and doing all these things. But if I'm not coming home to home cooked meals from my mom, or just selfless action from her every day, then I wouldn't have that either. And then my mom is like my rock. She's my heartbeat, and she's been there for me since day one. She's the one who gave me birth, and so yeah, it's been man, I'm so thankful for my family and just everything that they do for me daily, and so thankful that the Lord has given me that support system.
It's hard sometimes as a kid. Like you don't always appreciate what your parents do for you. You don't always understand. But I feel like when you mature and you kind of look back, you finally do. But it's that's the thing about being a parent. Like you do all that without your kids appreciating it because in the end it's good for them, whatever it is, right? Like if your parent um punishes you for some reason because you did something you weren't supposed to as a kid, you don't understand. You're like, why are you, you're just mean, mom. You're mean, dad. You took my phone away because I, whatever, or you're making me go to bed. You're making me do my homework. Like, you don't understand that it's for your betterment.
Yeah,
To take your schoolwork seriously or to get a job or do whatever. And I feel like as we mature, we kind of look back and I know like myself, right? Like you say, like, you were right. You guys were right, and you kind of have that moment where, I mean, obviously they know they're right, but you kind of realize it. And I mean, obviously kids, right? You're a kid. So you're not going to always understand in the moment. But yeah, parents, I mean, they do so much for us.
yeah, no, man, 100%, 100%. It's we're so blessed to have, because we're so blessed to have a family support system. I don't know what your family dynamic is, right? But there's a lot of people in this world that don't have that, or they're single family home, they're single parent homes, or they don't have siblings, or they lose their parents at a young age, or they grow up with no parents and they're in foster care. And you look at it in that perspective, it's like, whoa, like we're so blessed, and we take it for granted every day.
Oh yeah, yeah. You definitely can take it for granted because you don't see everything, right? Like if all of your friends grow up with a similar family dynamic to you, the families you're seeing on a regular basis are all kind of similar. You don't understand. I work at a high school now, so
Okay.
I kind of you see different kids and the stuff they go through, and it's heartbreaking. It's terrible, but it really makes you appreciate what you have, like what I had growing up or whatever. I mean, to see the hardships that some of these kids go through, it's crazy. But yeah, it really makes you grateful for what you've got.
Yeah, 100%, bro. 100%. That's awesome. That's awesome. You have that job and you can sit back now and kind of, you were once there in those shoes, right? And so like it's like
Yeah,
really cool to see where you once were at and see how much you've grown. And yeah, it's awesome.
yeah, it is kind of, I guess, a good segue into faith because, like, for me personally, I went into forestry. I graduated 4 years, bachelor's of science in forestry, and like throughout the whole process, every time I didn't think something was going to work, it happened the way it was supposed to, right? Like, I mean, obviously God's got a plan. I mean, I believe He's got a plan laid out for us, and we can't understand why things happen. And it's natural to worry, right? If you're going to get a job or if you're going to get this, even though it's going to work out. And I had a summer that recently where I was going to be getting married. I was living away with a job, so I was looking to get back home, and I took a job close to home. So right, everything's perfect, working out. A couple months before the wedding, and like 3 weeks on the job, we all get laid off, and I was like trying to figure out why did this happen, right? Like everything seemed perfect. I was moving home, weddings almost happening, and then you get laid off.
Hmm.
And I firmly believe it was all part of God's plan, and it was because like it was meant to bring me home, and then I wasn't happy in forestry, so it
Hmm.
led me to work at the school where I'm happy. Happy going to work every day. Like I hated going to work. I was miserable, always talking to my at the time fiance or my mom. Um, but like now I'm happy going to work. I never like feel like I'm not counting the clock. So it's all part of that, like believing in God's plan, the ups and the downs, the struggles, the challenges. It all leads to something, and if you just trust, right, it's gonna be what's best for you. Like we don't understand that because we're humans, we have simple minds, but if you just got to trust.
No, that's powerful, bro. And I appreciate you sharing that, right? Like just being vulnerable and just encouragement, right? Like God has you exactly where you're supposed to be, and He works all things, together for the good of those who love Him, who are called according to His purpose, right? And our joy and our ambition and our ultimate joy and ambition should be for God to get glory every day. And if we knew everything in our life, there'd be no point for faith. And that's where I think faith is so amazing, because now faith is having confidence in what you hope for and assurance about what you do not see. I have assurance that Jesus Christ went to the cross and died for me 2,000 years ago. And I have faith that he who began a good work in me, right? He who began a good work in you is going to finish it at the day of Christ Jesus. And He's working in both of our lives. And even when we don't see it or feel it, or, we're at lows in our life, like you were at, or like I've been at, and can be still to this day, God is preparing and teaching us in every moment of our life, and He has us exactly where He wants us to be, and we just need to embrace that. So that's really
Yeah,
cool, man.
yeah. I always like to think of it as like kind of a puzzle. It's a big puzzle, and we can only see one little piece at a time. He can see the whole thing. He knows how it's going to work out. We can only see that one little section of the puzzle, but that's the way that's the way it's meant to be. That's the way it needs to be, and you just got to have faith, and you've got to trust that when things happen, they happen for a reason, and that's easier said than done. Like there's so many times where something's not going right, you freak out, you get stressed and anxious, and it's hard to bring yourself back sometimes, but then like we talked about, everything works out for a reason, the way it's supposed to. I can't imagine navigating life without having a strong faith. Like I can't imagine it, and I know there's so many people out there that don't you
Yeah.
know
And Jesus calls us to go and share the gospel to the lost. I tried to live life on my own for 23 and a half years, and I was miserable and I was in a dark place. And so, yeah, it's just really cool to see and look back and just see how faithful God is, man. We're faithful in the little, we'll be faithful in the big. But if we're not faithful in the little, we won't be faithful in the big. So,
Yeah, I watched your video you had on your Instagram.
yeah.
um you've got it pinned on there that you kind of talk about your journey and your path to like your faith and your importance of your faith. And I think that's like, like you talked about the platform. And you're seeing this a lot more with professional athletes now, talking about the importance of faith. And basically, like, I know there's certain guys in the NFL um, that kind of just talked about like the NFL is the platform the Lord gave me to do good, to spread His word, to make change. Like football is it's just a piece of it. Like, yeah, I'm a good football player. The Lord gave me that, but that's not the only reason I'm here. And I think it's really awesome that we're starting to see that more with athletes like yourself, other D1 athletes, and professional athletes willing to share that, putting yourself out there, sharing your experiences.
No, 100%, dude. It's been you like you said, you don't see it often in sports, but we've been seeing it a lot more in the past couple of years, especially in college football this year. Like, and it just so happens that the two teams in the national championship are the two teams that have been giving Jesus glory since the beginning of the season. But yeah, man, it's we can so easily get caught up in and it was my identity for 23 and a half years of my life. What I did was I thought that's who I was. And what I do is not who I am. What I do is a platform to serve Jesus Christ. Who I am is a child of God, right? And you can get so caught up in that and think that you have to do all these things to be made right with Christ, and that's not the case. And our job or our sport that we play or any profession that we have is a platform and a gift to go out and to ultimately give glory to Jesus Christ and to point everyone to him and him alone. And it's been a journey. It's been unbelievable. God changed my life a year and a half ago, completely turned me upside down, just wrecked me. And it's been amazing. So
Yeah, and it definitely helps other people who are, maybe they're confused, maybe they just don't know, maybe they didn't grow up having faith, their family wasn't religious, they didn't go to church, they didn't believe in God. And there's I think when you share those stories, those transformations, it helps people themselves transform, understand, like, hey, I can do this too. I don't need to be afraid. So it's awesome to share that because it helps other people to share your message.
100%, bro. 100%. God's given us a testimony. He's transformed our lives, not to keep within ourselves, but when he transforms our lives, he literally tells his disciples in his word. He tells us, right, to go out and shout it abroad, shout it to the nations. And when they tell you to be quiet, shout even louder, because I am the truth. I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me, Jesus says. And that's all that matters, bro. At the end of the day, everything we have in this life is a gift, and it's a platform to bring him glory, honor, and praise. And every day we get that confused and we look for things horizontally that can only be found vertically. But it's about being entrenched in his word and prayer and in his spirit that we're able to be convicted and have our hearts set back on him.
Yeah, and just got to spread kindness, like especially in the world today. That's what we need most, is people to be kind to each other. And it shouldn't matter what your political backgrounds are, what your race is, where you're from, what you do. Like, that doesn't matter. But I feel like that's what people do nowadays. Like, if you have a different political affiliation, that's what people see, right? They don't see you as a person. They see that, or they see all these other things that, I mean, that's not the deep down to who we are. And I think it clouds vision, and it causes negativity. And you just got, I mean, like, I really could care less what politics people believe or where they're from, or how, like, I mean, that doesn't matter to me. Like, I just want to, and obviously it's not easy, right? Like, to be kind sometimes, right? Because we're human, we screw up. I mean, there's days you're driving in the car, somebody cuts you off, and maybe you say something that's not too nice about them, but it's just that you got to keep trying, I think, and try to spread kindness no matter what. Like, it's just it's a journey, and we're humans. We're always going to make mistakes, but I think the biggest thing is just like getting back up. When you fall down, you get back up and you keep trying to better yourself, and you never give up in that.
100%, dude. 100%. That's really good. That's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just, I don't know. I think it's good to talk about, and I don't have a very big platform, but I think, like, just being open to talking about that on this podcast for whoever is going to listen, I think it's important.
Oh, 100%, man. I mean, I was talking with my buddy the other day, and he's like, dude, like, his life had just got transformed by Christ like a month and a half ago, and I was encouraging him, like, dude, like, go out and be bold. Like, man, go tell everyone, like, what happened. Go tell everyone that your heart's been replaced from a heart of stone to a heart of flesh. Like, shout that out to the nations. Like, man, my life has been saved by Jesus Christ. And he's like, yeah, man, but I don't think many people would care. Like you have a different platform. Like, like you're play Division I basketball. I'm like, dude, like everyone has a platform. It doesn't matter if I'm playing Division I basketball or I'm working at Publix or I'm a janitor, right? It doesn't matter. Like, you have a podcast. I don't have a podcast. You talk to more dudes than I do, right? And you have the opportunity to pour into those dudes on your podcast with the questions you ask them, right? You can lead them to Christ. You can share Christ with them. We all have a platform. Our work is our worship. I would hope that most everyone in this world, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
I would hope that in this world, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I would hope that everyone in this world, or most people, have a job, right? And they're providing for their family or providing for themselves if they're single or whatever. And your work is your worship. My teammate Trey reminds me of that all the time. He's like, dude, what we do, like, that's our worship, to serve Jesus and to praise him and to honor him and to glorify him. And so, we can compare and think that, oh, I don't have as big as a platform. We all have a platform, and it's about what we do with that platform. Are we using that platform to bring ourselves glory, or to only and ultimately bring glory to Jesus? So
Yeah, it's a great mindset to have. The perspective is everything. And that's a great perspective. I really like that mindset. Like, it doesn't matter. And I have that mindset with, like, the podcast, who I have on. I don't really care what level people are at. I have Division III athletes, 2-1, pro, whatever. It doesn't matter to me, because everybody's got a story to share. So, like, I've always tried to. I think that's one thing I try to, like. That's how I want to set myself apart on my podcast. Is I'm willing to interview anybody and let them share their unique story, whatever that is.
100%, bro. 100%. It doesn't matter what, like you said, that's what the devil wants you to do. He wants us, he wants you, he wants me, he wants all of us. He wants to throw us with temptations to profile someone, like, oh, he's not good enough. No, nobody's good enough. Nobody's good enough for this life. Nobody deserves this life that we have, right? Our lives have been bought with the price by Jesus. And so, just embracing what we have and being able to go out and being bold in it is our calling. Go out and be disciples of all nations.
Yeah, we're all broken, right? Like, we're all working towards the same thing. None of us are perfect. But it's about, like, trying your hardest, doing your best. That's what really counts.
100%, dude. It's surrender your life and, acknowledge your poor in spirit. We bring nothing to this table but our sin, and just allowing Christ to work through us and transform us more like him.
Yeah. Why don't we kind of end on this question? It could go hand in hand to what we're talking about. But you could go a different way with it. But, like, has your sports career taught you something beyond sports?
Yeah. I mean, bro, basketball in a sense is my testimony. Basketball is what led me to Christ. Basketball is what taught me how to be appreciative in the littlest of littles, how to literally completely die to myself, right? And remember that I play for the Lord. Basketball was my identity. It was my God. It was everything that I like, whether I had a good game or bad game, whether I shot well or didn't shoot well. Everything relied on basketball and my performance. Christianity is the complete opposite, right? It's not about performance. It's about surrender. It's about daily dying to yourself. It's about living for Jesus because you love him and want to obey him. And so it's taught me so much. It's taught me how to be bold in my faith. It's taught me how to use my platform for Christ's glory. It's taught me how to be a disciple and to use this platform to go out and share the good news of Jesus. Basketball has brought me to many different places. It started at Purdue Fort Wayne. Then I was at Stetson. Then I was at Florida Gulf Coast. And at Florida Gulf Coast, that's when God completely turned me upside down and changed my life forever. And then he's brought me to High Point. I didn't ever think that I'd be out of the state in North Carolina. But that's where I'm at. And God's opened up doors to share the gospel here. We've had a couple managers get baptized. We've had teammates that are just, really interested in the word, and just seeing revival and just seeing God work here. It's not because of basketball, but God is using basketball as a platform for me and my teammate Trey and any of us that do play the sport or whatever we do to go out, and share the gospel. And so, yeah, I can get caught up at times, and it's actually convicting where I can get frustrated with what's going on, whether I had a bad practice at times. I can be like, man, I hate this game. I can't wait to be done with it. But then the Holy Spirit convicts me right away and is like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, this game has taught you so much. This game has given you a platform to pour into dudes' lives about Jesus Christ. This game is, in a sense, is what, it pointed you towards Christ, and God changed your life in it. And what the enemy meant for evil, God meant for good, like I said earlier. So yeah, man, basketball has completely showed me so much in life. But it's amazing now to be able to do it and to use the platform for Christ and his glory, and not myself. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Like they say with sport, it's bigger than basketball. It's bigger than whatever sport you're playing, and that's so true. Whether you're an athlete or a fan, sports do a lot of wonderful things. I mean, there's so much charity that come out of sports now with athletes using their platform to share the word of the Lord. Like if there's just so much beyond, like you said, shooting well or winning and losing and all that. I mean, all that's great. That's nice. They're added bonuses,
yeah,
but it's like we said, it's bigger than all of that.
100%, man. It's so much bigger, and we can get so caught up in thinking it's about us, but it's not about us. And the only way to not make it about us is putting our faith in Jesus, dying to ourselves daily. And I know that was your last question, but there's one verse I want to just lay on this podcast. I hope whoever listens to this hears this verse, right? It's Psalms 84:10, and it says, better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of the wicked. And it's just basically, man, I'd rather lose everything in my life and still have a relationship with Jesus than to gain everything in this world and not have a relationship with Christ. And so I just encourage anyone who listens to this podcast to put their faith in Jesus and to use their platform for his glory. So,
yeah, I think that's a perfect way to end. Powerful, way to end. I appreciate you coming on and, talking faith and sharing your faith and sharing your journey and your experiences on the podcast. I mean, I wish you the best of luck with everything going on here, the conference tournament, all that, but I just appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule and coming on. It was great. We had a great chat.
No, I appreciate you having me, bro, and reaching out to me. And I'm excited to hear it and excited to see where it goes.
Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for more episodes soon.